be lecturing on law, religion, and secular meaning, which is going to look at the ways in which law is shaped by the secular and the ways in which the way we conceptualize the secular informs our understanding of law. I want to help reclaim the language of the secular, and there's some really interesting work being pursued by theologians in different religious traditions, rethinking, in some ways, the theological meaning or the theological roots of the secular. And I think if we do that, it provides not only a way for religious voices to participate in a different way in law and religion debates, but actually might overcome some of the tensions that seem to define where we are jurisprudentially right now. You know, all too often I think we view law and religion questions as a pitched binary battle between resurgent religion on one side and secular commitments on the other, and it's a zero-sum game. And I think we need to overcome that. It's just not the pendulum swings a little bit to this side or this side, but we're not really moving towards a constructive resolution. And I think one way to do that is to engage in a theological reclaiming of what it means to talk about secular law and secular commitments. There's a great essay that was written, that was 5 or 6 years ago, a lecture given by then Archbishop Rowan Williams on Sharia law in England. It got a lot of attention, including on our side of the pond. And it was caricatured in the popular press as being this invitation to give Sharia law standing within British secular law, which I think both missed the argument, but also missed his larger point, which is that religion is a problem for a certain kind of secular law. And as I read Williams, what he was proposing we do in part was to reclaim a different understanding of universality. Not a universality that posits itself against religion, but a universality that begins with a universal vision of the human person, but finds space within that for the particular commitments that ultimately make life meaningful for people and for communities. And he describes that project in terms of developing a theology of law. And he never quite tells us what he means by that, but I think part of it is re-narrating the meaning of the secular. That is, we can only understand the problems we have now between law and religion by looking at how theology has and how theology might help us reimagine the relationship between law and religion in the present context. Part of what I do is I teach Islamic law to American students, to Saudi students in the US, and now to my students in Doha. And part of what I do in these classes is give a lot of attention to questions of Islamic theology and human rights, constitutionalism, questions of secularism. And it's a process that is dialogical, and we all, I hope, learn from it. It's a process for leading students, some of whom haven't thought through these questions, to wrestle with how do I, in my particularity, given these commitments that are important to my life, make sense of this language? To what extent is it compatible with my faith tradition? To what extent do I need to wrestle with certain components of it? To what extent is this something which is foreign to my tradition? So I really view this as a conversation in which I learn about their particularity, and I hope that I can lead them in a theological journey into law and into politics.
We are so thankful for our religious and civil liberties specialists who are working with us to make sure that this great American experiment continues, where we live together in our differences. You too can become a constitutional and human rights specialist focusing on religious freedoms. Check out religiousfreedomcenter.org to learn more and to apply for graduate level courses in the First Amendment. Join us again next week for another episode of 5 Minutes of Religious Freedom.